Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're unfamiliar, my name is Noah. I work at Prestige Toyota of Ramsey, and today I'm going to talk to you about why your car might be taking longer in the service department than you expected. So today I wanted to make this video just to go a little bit more in depth about what happens to your car when you drop it off for service at a dealer. I will be using Prestige as kind of the basis for this video, and experiences can vary between dealers, but for the most part, the process is the same, very similar. There might be marginal differences, but not much. So to start off, step one is coming to the dealer and saying, hey, I'm experiencing this issue, these sounds. You describe your symptoms. It's like going to the doctor. The way that Prestige does it is we have two different service operations. We have Express and we have True Service. So Express is something simple. You come in, you're like, hey, I have an oil change light on my dashboard. That's all I need. We're like, okay, cool. So you talk to a service advisor. The service advisor writes up a document called an RO and creates line items of what needs to be done to the car. So no matter where you go to any dealer, everybody will do what's called an MPI, which is a multi-point inspection. So that'll be put on a line, then oil change and service, and anything else that comes up. So for example, the MPI will be done first. They do the MPI and they say, hey, you need brakes. And if you decide yes on the brakes, that will be added as a line item as on top of the oil change, and they'll go ahead and do the brakes for you. In the case that they do brakes, sometimes we separate it, but most of the times just the oil change, maybe a simple brake job, that'll just be stuck in Express. Anything more than that is going to come down to service, our actual service center. So let's say you come in, and I'll use an example of a car that we had come in last week. So customer came in and said that they're hearing a high-pitched whine coming out of the engine bay. Now, a high-pitched sound coming from the engine bay can mean, a lot of different things. Many people would instantly think, oh, your belt is screwed up, or something is moving and it's just not lubricated, so it's creating a screeching sound or whatever that may be. So the car comes in, the customer comes in, they say this to the service advisor. The service advisor goes, okay, cool. So they create the RO. They put MPI, always, line one, making sure we're doing a multi-point inspection. And then line two is anything that you're potentially due for. So they might say, hey, while your car is here and we're looking at this problem, do you want to do your 10K service as well? So this customer did. She was at 46,000 miles. So she was still under warranty, and it was time for her service. So we added that onto the RO, and then the car gets intaked into the service line, service drive, we call it, at the dealer. We bring it through, we grab the keys, and then we go to our valets and we say, hey, put this key in the queue. It needs to be taken down to the service center for diagnosis. So they say, okay, great. So as the valets are moving back and forth bringing cars, this person's car comes up, grab the key, bring the car down to the service center, and then they park it in the lot, and then they come back to the dealer and continue their operations of bringing cars down. As soon as you talked to the service advisor and the service advisor wrote up this RO, that RO immediately gets sent down to the service center, where the dispatcher grabs the RO and then begins to try and see who to pass this on to. So a dispatcher is somebody who works in the service center. A lot of these guys are techs previously, so they have a lot of experience for how long jobs take, the kind of instruments that jobs take, the level of certifications for certain technicians. For example, if you have a certain recall, not every technician is certified to do that job. Sometimes it's only master techs, sometimes it's only techs with an A-level certification, B, C, and so on. So that greatly changes how quickly we can get your car out. If your car can only be seen by master techs, and we have, here we have 22 techs, but only 5 of them are master techs. So if the only people who can see that car are master techs, then that creates a shortage of people who can really see your car, and it slows everything down. So in this case, that was not what was happening. We did not need a master tech to look at this. All we knew was that the customer was stating this symptom. So the first step is diagnosis. Now, a lot of people, and so now, right, just to back up a little bit, right now we're already maybe 30 to 40 minutes into the process of this whole ordeal. You from start to finish, walking into the dealer, the timer starts. Especially for the customer, the timer starts because they don't want to be there any longer than they have to. So the timer starts, and then we're probably 45 minutes in by the time the car is actually in a bay with a tech starting to look at it. And we try to make this process as quick as possible, but if we have a lot of cars ahead, it does take longer. So the unfortunate truth is that your car is not seen right away, but we do try to expedite it as much as possible. So moving back forward. So 45 minutes in now, the tech finally has the car in their bay, and they're gonna conduct their multi-point inspection. They're gonna look around the car, they're gonna raise it, they're gonna look under, look at the suspension, see see if everything's okay. They're gonna speak in the video to, kind of verify their thought process. And this is shown to the customer so the customer can see exactly what the tech is thinking and what they're saying. So after the MPI is done, in this case, nothing else was found. Car only had 46,000 miles, so nothing major. We bring the car down and begin trying to diagnose it. So this job took 2 whole days just to find the diagnosis. We had one technician begin working on it, did a couple of road tests, and still couldn't figure out the noise. And in certain shops, this depends. For us specifically, our techs are unionized, so they have very specific time limits on how often they can work, which provides a very big constraint onto the customer. So by the time that the tech had already put in 2-3 hours on this car trying to diagnose it. And by that time, business was ending and it was time to go. So the tech had to go home. So the tech goes home, and we still don't know what the problem is. Next morning, that tech who worked on it isn't here today. So we have to bring in another tech. I tell them, same thing. This is the problem we're looking at. Can you road test it and try and figure out the diagnosis? Again, we're still just diagnosing the car. We still haven't even figured out what the problem is. So this is becoming a very long process. And in that process, because these 2 techs are really focused on this one job, it means they're being taken away from other jobs that may be simpler. So it starts to create a little bit of a backlog in the system. And while you're frustrated that your car is not done, now there's another person who's frustrated with their car not being done. So this is kind of the hard part in the balance that we in a dealership and as a dispatcher really try to fix, because it does get very frustrating. And I think a lot of people expect their cars to be done, very quickly in and out. And there are places that are really dedicated to that kind of expedited experience, but sometimes it just really takes a lot longer to give you the quality that we want to give you. We don't want to give you a car that's broken. So when you come to the dealer, that's really our goal, is to just try and give you the absolute best evaluation of your car. So back to the story. This new tech gets on the car. They do 2 road tests, something like that. And they decide, they're a little bit more experienced with this kind of symptom. So they think, I think this might be a transmission issue. So while they're looking at this car, by the way, again, because of the backlog that this creates, if they're just purely focusing on this one car, we have to give them other cars as well to look at. So We try to keep those simple if they already have a big project. So if we have a brake job come in, we give it to them. They can do it in like 30, 45 minutes, but that's still taking time away from this initial diagnosis. This diagnosis is still going on. So when I was working in dispatch, I got a call down around 2 o'clock from our service advisor asking, "Hey, customer really wants their car back. Are we done yet? Because this has been a really long time." And I'm like, I'm gonna check in on it for you. So I go to the tech and I say, "Hey, what is the deal with the car? Are we ready to give it back yet? Have we figured out the problem?" And they say, "I am pretty sure it is the transmission issue, but I want to do one more test." So again, we're still diagnosing the car. There's a lot of, it's the same thing with, when you go to the doctor's office, sometimes problems aren't simple and you have to run several tests and, really try to find the root cause of an issue. And it takes a long time. And it's the same way with cars. There's so many moving parts and some symptoms can align with unrelated problems. So that makes it really difficult. So this tech was really good. He had figured out to the best of his confidence that he thought it was the transmission. But he wanted to do one more test. What he wanted to do is he was going to drain the transmission fluid and look at the fluid and look for the smell and any kind of weird texture that was in the fluid to elicit that the transmission might be failing. So he goes ahead and does that and he confirms it. Transmission is failed. So when this customer came in, they were probably thinking, I probably just have a loose belt or, some kind of pulley just needs a little bit more lubricant. And then all of a sudden on their 46,000 mile car, their transmission has gone bad, which is an absolutely terrible feeling. That is not the call you want to get regarding your car. We absolutely understand that. So when that happens, we will give out a loaner to the customer. And so that customer can use the loaner as long as the repairs take place. So then the process is we need to order the new transmission and then we have to fix it. And that specific repair is a very long repair. You have to drop the engine, you have to drop the transmission to get it all out of the car. And then, granted this was a newer car, so any bolts and stuff like that you have to take apart should be pretty easy. But for example, say it was a car with 140,000 miles in New Jersey, with the way the weather oscillates throughout the year, bolts could be rusted, they could be seized. If, I've had techs where they try to get the bolt off and boom, the head just snaps. Now they have to spend time using specific tools to get the rest of that bolt out. That takes more time. So all said and done for the story, the transmission, came down, we got the parts in, it was fixed, it was given back to the customer, and they returned their loaner car. But that whole process extended way longer than anybody thought, and that's really the sucky thing. So I think when you drop your car off at service, you obviously want it to be expedited, but definitely part of you, I think, should be expecting the unexpected. There's always a chance that there are really bad underlying problems that we have to fix. In this case, the customer, they can decline the transmission repair if they want to try and find some place to do it cheaper, but that is a problem they cannot ignore. They will have to fix that at some point. So you might as well get it done now. Other things that may slow down the repair process is, workflow and shop capacity, which we kind of talked about already. And then approval delays. If your car is under warranty, we have to send the work order to Toyota, and then Toyota has to approve the work order. Additional issues with the car that are found will also create delays. And as I said, any aging cars, if it's just a simple brake job, but your caliper bolt is completely rusted over and the tech snaps it, well, now we have to get a new bolt, potentially a new caliper, depending on the state of that. And that increases the time as well. And then just the fixing part has increased the time, but now we also have to order the parts and make sure they're coming in. And, some of you might be thinking, well, why don't we just have those parts on hand? And we do, the more high volume parts, we do have more of those on hand. calipers themselves, just for that example, are not a high volume part that we replace. Rotors, for example, would be something that we have high volume of in our parts store. The reason we do that is because sitting inventory has an age limit, and if inventory sits too long because we haven't sold it, then it has to be sent out. So we try to make sure that we keep inventory that we will move in our parts department, just to make sure that isn't wasted, so to speak. So through this whole process, you've brought your car in, you've given the keys, now you've waited 30-45 minutes of the first part, and the car is just now being seen. Now the tech is looking at it. They're doing their multi-point inspection. They're looking for any other issues that you may want to approve or deny. It's totally up to you. But that process takes about 20-30 minutes. Then they have to do the actual job, which, depending on what it is, could take anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it may be, especially if we have to wait for parts to come in. Sometimes parts can come in really quick, sometimes they come in really slow. And then if it's under warranty, those issues slow it down as well, if we're trying to wait for approval or anything like that. But then, after all is said and done, we get the car wrapped up, we get it sent back, and then we are trying to get this car to you as quickly as possible. There's nobody in the dealership that wants to slowly work on cars and make customers wait. And I think the reasons are obvious. The more we do that, the more unhappy our customers are, the worse our business performs, the less they come to us. And that reflects immediately, So it's really not in our best interest to go slowly. And our techs work very, very hard, and they sometimes have, multiple jobs sitting on them. The dispatcher themselves, they have to evaluate who can do what and how quickly they can do each thing. So that process alone, that takes knowing the tech individually. So we have a really good dispatcher here who knows the techs very well. But if you have somebody new, let's say if you go to a dealership with somebody new in dispatch and they don't really have that relationship yet, that can be a bit of a stall variable in the process, because they don't really know who the best person to give it to is. So all said and done, that is kind of the process as the car goes through the shop. And again, sometimes it takes longer than needed. It's not something we want. It's something we really try to mitigate as best we can. And every single month, we are constantly looking at ways to improve, specifically our service and parts department. How can we get parts and repairs more expediently done? It's the same reason why we have 22 techs and 48 bays in our service department, so that techs can work on 2 cars at a time. But yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything. If there's anything in the, if you guys still have any questions, or if there's something that I didn't cover, please put it in the comments and I'd be happy to go over it into more detail. But that is what happens when your car comes to a dealership, and what delays might look like when the car does not come back to you at promised time. Again, if you guys like the video, please like and subscribe, show some love to the channel. Comment any other questions you may have. Happy to answer them, and I hope all of you have a great rest of your day.